Fall is on its way, so we're going to have pumpkin pie, pumpkin beer, pumpkin coffee, pumpkin donuts, pumpkin bread, pumpkin cake, pumpkin burgers, pumpkin pizza, chicken fried pumpkin, steak fried pumpkin, pumpkin fried pumpkin, pumpkin spaghetti, pumpkin wine, pumpkin ice cream, and I think we're even going to have a pumpkin cult running around. But I prefer Pumpkinhead.
Watch it, Alan. I'm shooting.
Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead is a fantastic 80s monster movie starring the great Lance Henriksen. We movie fans know him from so many movies, such as Aliens, The Terminator, and Near Dark. Just to name a few. It was directed by Stan Winston, who was one of the greatest special effects guys to ever live. He's the one who did the effects for both Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, Aliens, Predator, Predator 2, The Monster Squad, and he was part of the effects crew in Jurassic Park. And he did a pretty damn good job directing Pumpkinhead, which was his directorial debut. In the movie, Lance plays single father Ed Harley. He spends his days working at his grocery store and taking care of his son Billy. Right away we're shown that Ed is a good father and really cares about his son.
When I was your age, great-grandmama used to wash my hands, and she was so old that the skin on her hands was thin as tissue paper. It felt so good.
The two live in this hillbilly community, and we horror fans know that that means bad news for any outsiders that come to this town. Speaking of outsiders, a group of teenage city slickers come to town to spend time at a cabin and ride their motorbikes. Unfortunately, this leads to a tragic accident where Ed's son is killed. Filled with grief and anger, Ed Harley gets the aid of the village witch, who conjures up Pumpkinhead, a demon of vengeance, and the creature is sent out to murder the teenagers. Violently. But Ed Harley soon learns that he's now connected with the creature, and regrets his decision. So he sets out to try to stop Pumpkinhead.
Sure his father's taking care of him.
Pumpkinhead seems like your typical revenge horror movie, but it's actually one of the best. It's not like I Know What You Did Last Summer, where it's the majority of the characters who want to cover the incident up, and only one character thinks it's wrong. In Pumpkinhead, there's only one character, and that's the character Joel, who wants to cover up the whole incident. Of course, because he was the one who ran over Billy. But the rest of the characters actually want to do something. They want to help. It's due to a misunderstanding that leads Ed Harley to believe that they left his son to die.
Get to the cabin. There's a phone over there. It's all right. Chris! Take care of her and I'll stay with the kid. Yeah. Need your help. Chris with Maggie and I'll stay with the kid. I'll stay with them.
Speaking of Ed Harley, as always, Lance Henriksen is great. As I said before, you can see that he's a good father, and the movie does a good job at developing the father-son relationship.
This is something special.
You really like it?
I love it.
You don't have to wear it every day or nothing, just when it strikes you.
Give me a hug. I ain't never taking it off, punk.
Which makes the situation all the more tragic, and you understand why Ed Harley would want to summon Pumpkinhead. I love this movie for the same reasons I love Madman. Both movies feel like a story told around the campfire. The movie does a good job at setting up this legend, setting up the fear that these villagers have for this creature. The kids of the village have this poem that they chant.
Keep away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of living.
His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving.
Stop it!
Once Pumpkinhead is summoned, the villagers just lock their doors and stay out of the way. There's a code that they follow. They know how this creature works. He's going to kill his target and anyone that gets in the way.
You gotta help me, Tom. It's coming. I didn't kill that girl.
I don't know nothing about that and I don't want to.
In terms of human characters, the one who steals the show is the witch Haggis. No, not that one. She's the one who summons Pumpkinhead. Haggis was played by Florence Schauffler, and the character is so much fun to watch. She has that scratchy witch voice, the wrinkly skin, and one hell of an evil personality. She's delightfully wicked.
God damn you, God damn you.
He already has, son. He already has.
But enough of that shit, it's time to talk about Pumpkinhead. I love this monster. The design is so appealing, probably because it's so simple. I like the fact that even though he's an inhuman monster, he still has a personality. The animatronics and the effects work are able to portray the fact that he really enjoys what he does. The monster doesn't just feel like a monster, he feels like an actual character. The big draw towards Pumpkinhead is the fact that there's no CGI involved in the character. It's all practical effects. In terms of practical effects, I put this movie up there with The Thing and American Werewolf in London. It always helps when there's actually something on screen, something that the actors can actually interact with. Now, I'm going to compare this with a recent horror movie that really disappointed me. It Chapter 2. Now, I loved It Chapter 1, and I thought Bill Skarsgård was a great Pennywise.
Well, I'm Pennywise the dancing clown.
But my main issue with It Chapter 1 was all the CGI they used with the Pennywise character. They rarely allowed Bill Skarsgård's performance to carry the role. Don't get me wrong, he gave a great performance, but all the CGI used kind of undermined that great performance. And there was even more CGI in It Chapter 2, so much so that the creatures just came across as too cartoony for me. And it also felt like they were trying too hard to make the creatures in It Chapter 2 scarier than the creatures in It Chapter 1. And when you combined that with the CGI, for me at least, it came across as a big cartoony mess. Now look at Pumpkinhead. It's a much simpler monster, and it's done with practical effects. It doesn't come across as silly because there's actually something there to grab the actors, to wrap its clawed fingers around their necks. And don't tell me that it's a budget thing. It Chapter 2 had around $79 million. Pumpkinhead only had $3.5 million. If they had just simplified the creature designs in It Chapter 2 and used more practical effects, I think the movie would have been a lot more effective. But hey, that's just me. A lot of people seem to really like It Chapter 2, so keep on enjoying it. Back to Pumpkinhead, this is a good horror movie to kick off the fall season. It has the right atmosphere going into October, and is a good movie to watch leading up to Halloween. If you just want a good monster movie with a good monster, Pumpkinhead is well worth your time. Now let me ask you, what are some of your favorite practical effects in horror? This is your buddy Justin, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never
Stay
die.
away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of
Excuse me.
His
enemies are mostly dead.
Get off my lawn!